This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gold.
Welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. Hello, it is I, Old Gingerface, here with you once again. Guys, I'm excited to be here. Believe it or not, I had a bunch of, I stacked a bunch of interviews in the queue, so I actually haven't been on the mic in quite a while. I went to Cape Cod for a week with the family, had an excellent vacation. I still have family there, so when we go down, it's like we stay. My parents have like a little apartment above their garage. I got access to a boat and like a beach buggy for the other beach if I want. And man, it was good. So hard. I know you guys can all relate. So hard to go back to work when you like absolutely eat and drink like a pig for 7 days straight. So hard to put the gun belt and vest back on. Woo! It was painful, but I made it through the week. I'm happy you're here with me. I'm happy to see that I kind of posted a throwback episode when I was for the 4th of July week, because typically 4th of July and big holidays like that, the listenership is kind of down. It kind of just drops because people are doing things. They're not really going to the gym or driving in their car or keeping up with their podcast. So I put one, I think it was like episode number 3 with my buddy Miguel Lopez, and man, you guys listened to the crap out of that thing. You guys downloaded that a lot. It was a great one. He was state probation and got shot in the face on the job. And yeah, that was a fun one to put back out, because I literally sat in the cubicle next to him and I was starting the podcast, and I was like trying to get the courage up to ask these, these coppers that had seen all this battle and these crazy stories. And I was working with them in backgrounds and to ask them to come on, because I didn't know, like, some people don't like to talk about it. They don't want to bring that up again. Some people were more than happy to. So once I got a couple of them, then they were both like, oh, okay, yeah, this is kind of cathartic. I kind of like, this is good. So he was like the third one. So I'm glad you guys really enjoyed that. And I apologize to the people that start from the very beginning and listen, because you might have just heard that one. But that's why I did that, just so you know. Today's guest, very excited to have him. He did, believe it or not, he started full-time for 7 years as a firefighter. And then because of some scheduling conflicts and getting full custody of his son, kind of needed to make a shift. Like, firefighters are 24 on, 24 off. Like, they're not home a lot. So he actually then became a police officer for Santa Monica Police Department. Didn't really plan on doing a career as a police officer, but did. He ended up, obviously doing patrol. He did narcotics. He was on the state task force. And unbelievably, he broke his back multiple times on duty and eventually had to go out injured. I'm very excited to have him. Let's welcome the great Todd Taylor. Todd, welcome to the show, brother.
How you doing?
I'm good,
Thanks.
man.
How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I have to admit, brother, that is a firefighter mustache if I ever saw one.
Yeah, rocking the Fu Manchu.
Yeah, it looks good, man. So did it, that is quite the transition. I get it though. Like, a lot of like kids, when they're growing up, they want to be cops or fires, and it switches back and forth. You kind of got a taste of both worlds. Was it immediately better or worse?
Oh, immediately worse. Yeah, I never, the only thing I ever wanted to be when I was a kid growing up was a fireman. I ate, slept and drank it. It was my thing. And having the switch killed me. I mean, it was not I didn't want to do it, but there was good reasons. My son needed to be with me. It wasn't the typical, mom sucks kind of thing and, fight between the family. She was doing some really bad things, and he needed to have a better life. So the fight started, and I ended up, it was a couple of years, probably a good couple of year battle. And I just said, well, here we go. I'm going to switch careers and see if this works. And I did it, and bam, here we go. I had a 3-year-old.
Wow. That's
single dad as a new cop with a 3-year-old little boy.
That's intense, brother. You must have got some help going through academy with your parents or family members or something.
Yeah, I had I guess I could call them nannies, a semi-quasi girlfriend. I lived in a really cool place. Everybody had our back, and it was really the best case scenario for something that was unfortunate, but it paid off, because my son's now 36, I believe, and he's a paramedic captain for a Las Vegas fire. He's a rock star with 2 little girls, and I always joke with them and say, hey, the beatings and the rough life paid off.
God bless you, man. That is amazing, dude. So when you made the switch, were you Santa Monica City Fire and went to the PD side, same city?
When I actually made the switch, I was working for LA City, and they completely lied to us. They you had to be a lateral hire from another fire department. I came from a department in Long Beach, and they said, oh yeah, once you do because they turned us into fire cops. So that was my transition to the cop side. And you had to be a full-time fireman to get hired. They sent us to a full police academy. 8 hours out of our 24, you threw on a LAPD uniform, hopped into an LAPD car, and you patrolled the Ontario airport. And
weird,
top of the line equipment, a big station, like 20 guys on at a time. And it was a joke. There was nothing but old retired LA City firemen that were double dipping their retirement. We were the first new batch of young guys they brought in. They hired 17 of us at once. It was kind of their transition out of the old retirement home for the old LA City firefighters, going there as firemen, and then they trained them to be reserve cops. They sent us in there as full post-certified cops, and the reserve old timers hated us, and it was miserable. I spent a year there and got to the point where I could lateral now either side. I could lateral PD, I could lateral fire, because I was both. And I always wanted to work for Santa Monica Fire. And in fact, Santa Monica Fire was my first fire department test that I had ever taken. And I ended up getting hired with Lake Arrowhead Fire first, and then went to a little department in Long Beach area. But I decided, well, hey, I can go lateral over to Santa Monica PD, and what small department isn't going to pick up a guy with 7 years fire experience and lateral over once I got my son? Well, Santa Monica Fire went on a 6-year hiring freeze right when I got there, and I was kind of stuck. But it was new. It was different. I only did about a year on patrol before I started going into special units, and I always joked that I didn't have that typical dickhead cop mentality, so I would just kind of blend it in with other things, and I was having fun, so I stuck with it and kind of accidentally stayed with it, and it was a good career. I mean, it had its ups and downs for sure, but it was exciting. Definitely something different every day. Santa Monica was a great city to work for. Beautiful area. It was active. It's where the dipshits come to play. We're surrounded by LA. It's a beautiful area, but it was active, and they kept a lot of what was going on in Santa Monica quiet, because tourist area, they don't want it out there, but we were busy.
Oh, you were? Yeah. Cause I walked my family down Santa Monica a few times, more than a few times, when we lived in Los Feliz, then we lived in Ontario actually. And, I saw some pretty serious stuff going on with Santa Monica PD. Very active, raced up and down. This is daytime, racing up and down the streets, grabbing people, throwing them against cars. I was like, they do their best to keep it, like, oh, it's the boardwalk. Hey, let's, get an iced coffee and walk around. But there is some real bad elements down there. So you were saying you were a fire, was that, it's like in Massachusetts, the fire cops are through the state police, and it's the state police or troopers that are fire marshals. So they investigate like homes that burn down and commercial fires. And were you doing that stuff, or were you just patrolling the airport?
No, we literally, so I was full-time fire with a city before. And then when I knew that I had to do that transition to something where I had a normal schedule, that's when I went to LA Airports, which was owned the Ontario airport. So we would literally start our shift off as a fireman, and your 8-hour segment would come in your shift, and you didn't have to do it every shift, but you would throw on a police uniform and you'd patrol the airport. There was usually 2 people on patrol at once, one on foot in the hangars, what do you call it? I don't even remember anymore.
The gates.
But the gates, yeah, and then one in a car driving around the perimeter of the airport. And the funny thing is if you needed backup, the guys would throw on their Sam Browns over their turnouts and come out in a crash, airplane firefighting engine, and come back you up if they needed to. It was hilarious.
Dude, that is crazy. I had no idea that was going on. When I was there, Ontario took it back over. Ontario PD took it back, I think.
Yeah.
But wow,
This
man,
was in the mid 80s, probably. It was
that's
nuts.
awesome. I love it. They probably had to get creative. They're like, well, the firefighters are already there and people aren't going to want to commute to Ontario. So we have to make the firefighters cops.
Yeah. I don't know if they still do it that way, but it was an interesting deal. But just the dynamics between the old retired LA fire guys that retired from a full career at LA City and came over to the Ontario to double dip their retirements. They weren't there to work. They didn't want to train us. We were new guys. When we were out on our patrol, if you did anything proactive, you were in trouble, because if they had to stop drinking their coffee, they were pissed.
Yeah. Oh, I know the type. Absolutely. Todd, can you tell us, go way back to the first call you went on as a police officer that you would have considered hot or got your adrenaline going?
Oh, my first call was my very first day on Santa Monica Police. Walked in the roll call. I'm brand new in a weird uniform now with all kinds of stuff on my waist and a gun now. And we get a in progress murder rape.
Whoa.
And it's the victims and the witnesses, the witnesses were all deaf mutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, in a homeless encampment where they broke into this house. It was gnarly, but talk about getting thrown into the fire right away. That was pretty interesting. But welcome to police work.
Yeah, I know. It's always something nuts. But so in that situation, you guys try to track down somebody who can sign or can read lips, or.
Yeah, I guess luckily being in LA County, there's all kinds of interpreters for everything available. So we were able to get a sign language interpreter to try to help us. But, you're dealing with homeless, deaf, mute transients that are all hopped up on, rock cocaine. So it was very unproductive. It wasn't a good time, especially for a new cop.
Yeah, I bet.
That
what was the outcome? Was that actually what was going on?
Oh yeah, they killed her. Yep, raped her and killed her.
Oh my gosh, that's nuts.
Not good.
Yeah, when I was at Backgrounds in LA, they like a lot of guys in like the bigger cities, or I'm kind of this is anecdotal, but a lot of people were like, okay, so you do 5 years on patrol, and then like you really try to, unless you love patrol, you try to get on like a specialty like Backgrounds or something else, and somebody described to me, I forget his name, but he said, this is what it's like being on patrol. He said, this is what it can be like. There's a murder at Skid Row. They've also detected that they may have found the bubonic plague down there. You have to stand there in the middle of these people who are basically like a bunch of like mentally ill animals with one other cop for like ever waiting for homicide to come. And you're just standing there fending them off. I'm like, and it's 85 degrees. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah, I can see why you'd like to be in Backgrounds in this air-conditioned cubicle with me.
Yeah, no, I couldn't survive in an office. Yeah, it wouldn't have worked for me. Yeah, and then after patrol, I went right to a bicycle unit, which was fairly new. In fact, I became one of the first, I believe one of our lieutenants was the first post-certified bike training cop, and my partner became like the second and third. And we patrolled the downtown area, which was a blast back then because the 3rd Street Promenade was hopping and the dope in that area was insane. The rock cocaine was pretty much all you saw, and it was rampant. And being on a bike and being in a kind of a soft uniform, we stumbled onto everything, because if there's dope, there's crime. And being able to sneak around the alleys and the parking structures, we would stumble onto, hot in progress crimes all the time. So it was a blast. And my partner was really motivated and active, and so was I. So it was a blast, just arresting dirtbags all day long.
Yeah. I bet the shift flew by.
It did. Yeah. Yeah. And then we had Palisades Park. Was that the park next? Yeah. Park that ran along Ocean Avenue overlooking the ocean there. And it was like fireflies in the middle of the night. You could just see all the people lighting up the rock pipes. And, you'd hide in the bushes and burst out there, and you'd take 3-4 of them into custody at once with the rock, and some of them would jump over the embankment and land on PCH, which was quite a ways down.
Yeah,
but it was a good time.
Yeah, man,
you were busy.
That PCH, brother, that place is dangerous. People get cut in half going in their bikinis trying to get to the beach.
Oh, the gnarly accidents I've seen on PCH just haunt me to this day. It's crazy, the stuff you'd see down there.
It goes so fast, but it's like the beach is right there. And I was talking to a few cops when I was down there, and they're like, one of them was telling me literally we had a woman cut in half in her bikini, nice young girl, cut in half by a car. It's like,
I'd like to think I coined the term DRT, and that came from an accident. It was around the OJ trials, and I remember going down on PCH in this accident. I pulled up on scene, and the DRT came from dead right there, because it was just bodies everywhere. And it turned out it was a Volkswagen van, the old school Volkswagen van, full of German media that were out covering the OJ trial.
Oh my gosh.
And they went head on into a Mercedes, and the passenger in the van, he went through the windshield and then went through the windshield of the car that they hit.
Oh my gosh.
Killing the lady inside, and the husband's still alive and conscious, and his wife is dead with a German media guy in her lap that just crushed her through the windshield. I mean, just gnarly accidents, but there was bodies everywhere. I think we had like 6 dead on that one. It was crazy. But
that is
shift went by pretty fast.
Yeah, I'd say probably didn't end some nights. Todd, can you describe the strangest or most bizarre thing you dealt with, if you can think of one? I know you probably dealt with a lot.
Oh, well, I think the most bizarre thing, I can't remember what the call came out as, but maybe it was like an unknown trouble or so, and at a fairly nice end of town, and come pulling up, and there's this guy standing out on the sidewalk, and we let him know, hey, what's going on? We're here, and he opens his hand, and he's got his dick in his hand.
Oh, geez.
But it was no longer connected to him.
Oh my gosh. No.
He cut it off.
Oh.
So like, whoa. Not touching that. But yeah, that was pretty, that was interesting, but that one always comes to mind. But just some crazy stuff there. People had money, and where do the dipshits from LA go? And they were surrounded by LA. They'd come to town, the brutality, the crime, seeing a pair of, the most largest scissors I've ever seen in my life sticking out of a guy's chest, and it turned out to be some kind of weird gay homicide thing in a house. You just never knew what you're going to stumble into. Driving down the street in the morning, real quiet, and all of a sudden I literally see the Terminator coming at me, and it's Arnold Schwarzenegger on a Harley.
That's so
and it was
cool.
Right around the Terminator movies. Just the things you saw in Santa Monica were wild.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, my buddy, he is a big, I was too, growing up, a big Arnold fan. And when he was out visiting California, he went to whatever gym it is, Arnold. Everybody knows Arnold still goes to this gym. Maybe it's in Venice.
Like Gold's Gym or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And you can now he rides his electric bike to it, because he's like an old man, But my buddy got him, and I think he went twice. And the first time Arnold was like, not today type of thing. Because I guarantee it's like he can't even work out with people.
Yeah.
No, we go there. So they go there and wait for him on the sidewalk. It's like, how annoying. But the second time, I think he was like, all right, come here. And they did the picture, But yeah, he's I can't imagine living a life like that where you can't go anywere without someone being on you.
Everybody knows you. It's a blessing and a curse, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and there's Bill Burr has said before, he's a comedian out of Boston. He said he's like the perfect amount famous. Like he can put on a ball cap and go into like a grocery store, and only like a real big fan would notice him. And it's kind of like, but if he takes it off and walks around enough, then people will be like, hey, Bill, what's up? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, Todd, can you tell us about your most intense or terrifying call you went on?
Probably when I was on the task force. We were a surveillance unit, and we could roll pretty much anywhere, and we pretty much hunted people. We followed people around, and we just never knew where we were going to end up. And one day we were on a surveillance. We're in the area. We would always have the local PD's frequency on, and we hear this call go down of armed men going into the Bank of America. And it's like, look at my partner. It's like, damn, we're right here. And turned out to be the Bank of America shooting in North Hollywood.
Whoa, the one we all see in Police Academy. They show it to everybody.
Yeah, we rolled up onto that, and they were still in the bank. We rolled up to the first marked units that were on scene, and we hear shooting going on inside the bank, and so, oh, this is real. And then I remember I'm getting my stuff together, threw my vest on, and I'm in plain clothes. I looked like a biker back then. My mom didn't even recognize me back in those days.
Classic narcotics guy.
Yeah. And all of a sudden the SWAT pops around the corner. It's like, oh, SWAT's here. And then they turned around and started shooting at us. And it's like, hey, SWAT. It was the bad guys. They came out of the door of the bank. And just everything around us just lit up. The patrol units were taking a lot of hits. And I remember a civilian got hit nearby us. And I'm going to say that his dog was hit. And then just cops started going down all around us, in front of us, behind us. And you're hearing the calls for help. I mean, I think that was the worst part of it, is hearing other cops, begging you to come help them. And there was one cop that I can see, and I just couldn't get to him. And he took multiple hits while I'm watching and trying to get to him. And he just kept getting hit. And, just all I could do, they were obviously there by then. We were getting on the radio. They were saying, that, they got full body armor, headshots only. So to go backwards, as soon as the cars started taking hits, I rolled out of my car to get out of the big target, and only got out with my vest on and my Glock 9, and that's it. Yeah. Just one mag and Glock, and I didn't think we're going to have to bail from our car. And we had probably the only weapon on scene that could have taken him out. And my partner at the time, for whatever reason, threw the car in reverse and backed 2 blocks out of the area, leaving me in the middle of the road in plain clothes with body armor on. And then I start realizing there's bullets coming at me from the other direction. And as LAPD units are rolling up, they're shooting at me also.
Jeez.
So I'm getting it from both ends. I'd say the only thing good my partner did that day was he put out on the radio that, use caution undercovers in the area. And that helped a bit. And then I would love to meet this guy, but an old school LAPD cop, just that textbook, like right out of Adam 12. I just remember a real low slung holster and skinny and fit guy. And he comes over to me, and he kept me from getting shot from LA as they're rolling in. And he and I just made a plan that literally, kind of sounds corny, but till we see the whites of their eyes, because they were shooting like crazy and the bullets are coming by us. And, I'm sure a lot of the cops have been shot at, but when you got a couple AKs shooting your way from not too far away, and you hear those bullets that are just flying by normally, and then you can hear the flutter of the ones that are coming by, and there's just hundreds of them. Yeah. It got your attention.
Yeah.
I remember I called up Santa Monica PD, and I remember telling them, roll our SWAT. LA cannot handle this. This is not working out. And then my next call was my girlfriend at the time. And her first thing she says is, "You're there, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah.
I was a complete shit magnet. If there was something gnarly going on, I was likely to get involved in it. But no, that was an intense call. It was like, yeah, bitch. And, this is the call everybody wants to be on, And then you're there and it's like, wow, you're kind of helpless. This
Yeah.
sucks. I don't want to become part of the problem. I got cops shooting at me. I just wasn't it. Yeah, there was cops behind me shooting. I don't know why the hell they were shooting, just to lob bullets in the air. I don't know, but it didn't make sense to me, but I guess they thought I was a bad guy too. So I get it, but there was no sense in me shooting them, knowing, because you could see them taking hits. You'd see the bad guys, taking a hit, lurching,
Yeah.
and then they turn backwards and start shooting. And,
I remember that.
I had occasionally, when I'd see them, lighten up a couple of cops that were getting hit, I'd pop up to get their attention and they'd start shooting at me and stop shooting at them. So I guess that's the only thing good I felt I could do, is redirect their attention.
You're
But,
playing like human whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh,
human
man.
whack-a-mole. It was funny because after it, they had a big awards ceremony, and Nicolas Cage was the announcer at it, and they somehow voted me the flattest man in North Hollywood, because the only thing, my final resting position was a curb. That's where I ended up taking cover, was this curb, because I could see them, but I could still have some cover. But I got a few bits of shrapnel from concrete and stuff in my head that I still feel like I'm picking some of it out. I don't know how long that stuff stays in your system, but definitely some is coming out of my head. But that was the only thing between me and them, was a curb. And luckily I was a lot skinnier back then. So other than my ass would have got shot up probably. But no, it was that was an interesting day. Very interesting. I think I was on scene there for 14 hours.
That is, and ultimately, like, I remember the videos they showed us, like in Academy, was I'll never forget it, because I've never seen like the front of a car just buckle. Like the firepower, the difference between the firepower of an AK-47 and a handgun. Like, a lot of cops, we train mostly on the handgun, then rifle and everything now, but they're not really weapons of war. Like full auto AK-47 is made for battle. And the hood of the car just looked like aluminum foil. I was like, oh my,
Swiss cheese them.
Oh my, it was unbelievable.
And the sound too, my ears were ringing for days after that. Just that constant of that shooting of those AKs it was loud. It was very loud. And that, I'll never forget it. Just that smell of gun, that amount of gunpowder in the air, that noise, the sound of the cops, on the radio, letting they'd been hit and where they were, and you just couldn't get to them. It was very frustrating. And also knowing that I had pretty much the only weapon on scene that could have stopped them, and it backed up 2 blocks down the street without me. And
you guys have an AR or something? M4?
Yeah, we had something special in the car. So but it was gone. It was out of play now, so we couldn't use that.
And is it true they went to like local gun stores and were like, give us rifles?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I want to say it was like B&B gun shop. It was a few blocks down the road. They came in and got them. And they used the armored car to go in and get that officer that was down, that took multiple hits that I was watching, unfortunately. But yeah, I always wonder how those guys, I was talking to the chief of LAPD. What's his name? Chief McDonald. My fiance knows him fairly well. And I was like, why don't they have a reunion or something for us all? Nothing, just done.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest shooting in U.S. history happens, and nobody that was part of it. I heard, unfortunately, I hope it's not true, but that like 4 cops that went, that were there have killed themselves, early on. I mean, it was like, that was a gnarly day, and nothing. Nope. Back then, we didn't talk about things. We didn't tell each other we were hurting or anything, but I'll tell you, that day messed me up.
Yeah.
And it kind of was, looking back, I kind of think it was the start of my journey of being a whack job, later on, because it brought PTS, but it definitely affected me, and it brought back, it spooled all kinds of other crap up. was weird. It's
Yeah.
being retired hasn't been all that great.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I mean, that is like going to war in your own country. You know, I mean, that's like a little battle. That's like something a soldier would have to face in the Middle East or something. You know, that's
yeah,
crazy.
I couldn't imagine doing that every day,
Yeah.
especially when you're not prepared for it.
ProForce Law Enforcement, the best damn cop shop in the nation, whether you're purchasing for an entire agency or you're an individual officer looking to buy firearms or duty gear, these guys are the best in the biz. ProForce has law enforcement exclusive pricing and is the place to be buying your guns and duty gear. They carry all the top industry brands, and the guys and gals that work there understand exactly what law enforcement officers need. Special discount link, tps.proforceonline.com. It's deeply discounted items just for listeners of this show, or you can go to proforceonline.com and shop the whole place. Place is unbelievable. You can also visit Prescott, Arizona in person or Brea, California in person to get hands-on with the gear. All the contact stuff is in the show notes. Thank you, ProForce. We had I had Dave Carrasquillo on, a guy who used to work at LAPD backgrounds, and he was an Englewood gang cop. And he was also a Marine, but he said the thing about the military is like when you're home, you're home. He goes, when I was doing gangs for Englewood PD, and he was involved in a bunch of stuff, he was like, every night at dinner, I would just think, gotta go back tomorrow. Like the war never ended. Like it's just, you lived in it. And he said it just messed with him big time.
Yeah. And then when you're retired, and it's like, especially the way I was retired, I didn't go out the way I want to. I didn't go out on my terms. It's like, not to sound like a crybaby here, but I didn't leave the fire department on my terms. It was the right decision.
Right.
I didn't leave the police department on my terms. Somebody chose that for me. And I wasn't the typical, I don't mean to say down anybody, but a lot of cops and firemen, when it's time for them to leave medically, it's like, okay, I'm going to get this knee surgery next month, and I'm going to go to, start my real estate career and then be ready. But when you go out catastrophically, there's no preparing for it. I did not plan on, I was a fireman, went to cop. I didn't plan on retiring, when I was young, and somebody else decided to drive over me on purpose and break my back. It wasn't my choice. So when I was retired, it was like one day I was at work and the next day I'm in a body cast. And
yeah. Can you talk about how that happened, Todd?
Yeah, it's kind of a long story, but I'll cut it real short. Like the initial incident where I was driven over, it was working a deal and undercover, and I guess I was the wrong demographic for the area when things started going bad, and the bad guy decided that if he'd kill me, that the rest of the cops would stop following him. So he came up on the sidewalk suddenly at close to 50 miles an hour and just missed from going under the car. But as he was aggressively turning at me, the left front fender clipped my right hip and picked me up. My hand went through the windshield with my gun in my hand, which broke my hand. When the bumper hit my hip, it broke my hip. Then it spun me around. The mirror and the A-pillar hit me in the back, broke my back in 3 places. Sometime during that, rib head was broken off my spine in the thoracic area. It threw me. Luckily, I went over the car, but it carried me about 50 feet into the center of the roadway and landed on all fours. And I just remembered nothing really hurt at that moment. My hand hurt. But I remember being on all fours. The first thing I started doing was counting my bullets because I'd been around shootings and just knew they're going to start asking me how many rounds I shot, which direction. And I was pretty sure I shot the guy, but I didn't. I thought I did, but
Right.
It was the sound of me going through the window. But that happened, and I was off for a little bit. Turns out the city doctors missed the extent of the injury. Plus, I wasn't a whiner, and I wanted to get back to work. I went back light duty for a bit, then I went back on my detail, And then the second time where it really catastrophically broke, it was right after the Northridge earthquake. They pulled us all in and put us in uniform. I was not used to being in uniform. I wasn't used to being in a marked unit. My partner and I got a call from one of the narcotics sergeants who watched a drug deal go down, and we found the car. Short following, because we can't pursue anybody,
Right.
occurred, and the car turned up this unnamed road just inside of Malibu, but ironically, at the same time, an armed robbery had just occurred in Santa Monica on the complete opposite end of town. So everybody on our departments apparently ran to that one. Now we end up on the complete opposite end in Malibu by the time the car stopped. And long story short, I get hung up on my seatbelt getting out of the car. The guy just stops abruptly. My partner, who's usually a real dialed in, focused cop, is kind of freaking out on the guy, pointing his gun at him, and he's on the passenger side. And I'm like, okay, something's going bad down here. And I could see the guy dipping under his seat. I get out of the car finally, a little bit delayed, and I walk up to the driver's side door, and he's focusing on my partner who's on the other side. He's digging under the seat. So I'm like, we're on a really steep hill too. So I'm like, well, I'm going to open this door and just drag his ass out, use the downhill to my advantage.
Sure.
And all my partner and I did multiple times a day was fight people with drugs. And so we're not going to have a problem. Well, I remember opening the door and putting my hands on the guy's shoulder to yank him out. And the next thing I know, friggin' Bruce Lee is doing some kung fu shit on me like I've never had before.
Oh boy.
He was it was like right before MMA started, but this guy was like a very advanced in
Very
multiple
active.
aspects of martial arts. And he jacked me up quick, kicked me, and ended up falling back and not wearing my uniform often. I had my flashlight right at the small of my back. I landed on it, which re-broke my back.
Oh.
And it hit just right in the right spot. So now I'm on the ground. My legs are instantly tingling and getting numb. We're rolling down this hill fighting, and I'm not going to let go of him. And my partner finally comes around the other side of the car. He jumps on him. Now there's three of us rolling. This guy's giving both of us a run for our money. And I remember being pinned underneath the guy. I'm on the bottom. My partner's on me. Somehow I got one handcuff on the guy already. And we're just kind of in this big dog pile, and the guy starts spitting out the dope. Ugh. And my partner and I never lost the dope. We always recovered the dope. That was just our thing. And I remember watching, I'm kind of pinned on him, under him, with one hand on one handcuff on a wrist. Watch my partner reach over and start grabbing his hand because the bad guy's crushing the dope with his hand. And the bad guy reaches over, grabs my partner's thumb, and pulls it back, all the way back, breaks it backwards. And I'm like, oh shit,
Damn.
That was gnarly to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of pinned. I got one arm on the guy, and then my partner hits him with the OC spray, drops that, and then I watch him reach out again with the other hand, and the bad guy grabs that thumb, breaks it backwards.
Oh my gosh.
So now, and it turns out that's like a martial arts technique, and it basically kills your arm from the elbows down. Now my partner rolls off of him. He's in shock now. I'm still stuck underneath the guy. And as my partner rolls off of him, his gun's on the ground. Somehow it comes out of his holster. And I'm like, Ken, get your gun, get your gun. And the bad guy's trying to worm his way to it. And I see my partner in a daze, he's in pain, he's in shock, and he's like pushing it with his arms. He's out. And I just started beating the shit out of the guy with my flashlight with the one arm I had free. And I don't know how I got him, but I ended up hooking him up. And one of the eeriest things is I still got the tape somewhere where I put out the officer needs help call before I got out of the car. And it was several minutes, and they're looking for us because we put out, we just, all I remember saying on the radio was, we just made a right one street past Temescal, and and we're in another city. So it took a while for someone to get us to us. And then I put out, the suspects in custody, roll a code 3 ambulance. And they're like, well, what are the suspect's injuries? And I just remember saying, it's not the suspect. It was both of us. And mind you, now my legs are going numb. My back fracture just re-fractured, or it dislocated. My partner's completely out of it because we're having both thumbs pulled backwards. Gnarly pain.
Yeah. Jeez.
And next thing you know, we both go to the hospital, and I was off for close to 1.5 years, and he was off for like 6 months. And that was the beginning of the journey, but that's not when. Then they were going to retire me, and I didn't want to retire. And I remember running into one of the narcotics guys that I'd worked with at the gas station near where I lived, and told him, yeah, dude, they're going to retire me. I don't want to go. And he mentioned that they had a narcotics filing detective position available, which was a plainclothes, office job.
Yeah.
So let me talk to them and see what we can do there. So they got me into that, and I got back on as a light duty position. I did that for a bit, was working out like a fiend, trying to get better. And they wanted to do surgery on my back. I wouldn't let them do it. They wanted to put 8-inch Harrington rods, which would have froze my entire lower spine. And they also wanted to fuse my entire neck. And nope, not going to do it. No, I've always heard the horror stories and back surgeries. Once you get one, you're going to get them all. And refused. And long story short, I ended up, they were going to re-retire me then, because they said, yeah, no permanent light duty positions in Santa Monica. I didn't want to do that. I was able to convince my doctor he said that I was okay to go back as long as I lightened my load. I was first cop in Santa Monica to be able to wear a nylon web gear, go to a Glock for lighter weight. I had titanium handcuffs, this weird material, Pier 24, super lightweight, a real lightweight vest. The doctors made me a brace to wear under my uniform to help. And they said, as your doctor said you're good to go, and our doctor says you're good to go, then you're good to go. So there was no positions open on any special units. So I had to go back to morning watch, which is what I wanted to be, as morning watch. And back on patrol. So nobody ever scheduled me a doctor's appointment with the city doctor. And they scheduled me to be on mornings, and my first shift, I'm like, well, I guess I'm good to go. So I just go on the mornings. And I did that for a few months, and I was hurting, but I didn't want to say anything. I could feel my spine shifting. Literally, it was the craziest thing. I was not okay.
Yeah.
And, but I just I wanted to work. What am I going to do? I'm a retired fireman, now cop. What the hell am I going to do?
Yeah.
If I leave? So luckily an undercover position opened up with this task force. I put in for it, figuring, as long as I'm playing clothes, I can kind of plan when I'm going to get into stuff. I can throw my brace on, stretch, whatever, I'd be good. And I ended up not getting the spot. They wanted a Spanish speaker. And luckily, one of the few people in the department knew how much I was hurting and wanted to stay on. He's the one that got the spot, and he turned it down for me.
Oh, wow.
He knew that would, I owe a lot to that guy.
That's good looking out right there.
Yep. And I ended up getting the spot, and it was only supposed to be a 1-year commitment. And I ended up staying on for 6 years. That was probably also not good for the PTS. Because I understand now why it was only a 1-year commitment. There was a lot of stuff, when you're rolling around all of LA County completely undercover. And I mean, I'm talking deep undercover stuff. You run into some stuff. But long story short, I did 6 years with that. My final day on the job was a pursuit, undercover pursuit. The CHP that always shouted us popped into the picture. I was running after this guy, and I always said they didn't pay me to lose. So even though I was hurt, and I don't know why, I had this weird drive about me back then to where I just pushed through stuff. And I ended up going head on with this guy, and it re-broke my back.
Oh my goodness. Todd, you
And,
are you might. I think you're one of the toughest men I've ever met in my life, brother.
no, I think it's probably stupid.
The first back break, I would have been like, "Peace, I'm out. See you later."
Yeah. Well, I remember going to the hospital that night, and I'm home, and I get a call from my captain from Santa Monica, and he's like, "Hey, you never got cleared to full duty." I'm like, "What?" It turns out I've never, in 7 years after my second injury actually of it, somehow I missed my city physical, and was technically never cleared to full duty.
I figured
for
they
7 years.
might let you know that.
Yeah, well, I was good. I was out of sight, out of mind. I was undercover on the task force. So I don't know how I missed it. I mean, it wasn't intentional, but it turns out I guess they wouldn't have let me on back in. But either way, I got 7 years in, and it was still a shocker. I didn't want to retire.
Yeah,
and I think they threw a lot away, and next thing I know, they just said, "Yeah, we're gonna send somebody over to get your county car and the good weapons." And then that's the last pretty much like the last I heard of it. It was the craziest thing. It's like
really?
out of sight, out of mind. Not a single person's calling me from the PD. Nothing. It's like, I'm retired. I'm done. I'm gone. And just totally discarded. It was such a weird thing to be dealing with. Now I'm in pain. I'm back in this turtle shell thing. I unfortunately was married to a nightmare who one of her first thing is, "I'm not going to be married to another cripple." I'm like, wow, thanks for the support. So,
very
I got
supportive.
no support at home. I'm getting no support from the department. They weren't fighting me. But there was just, you were alone. I just was totally alone. For 6 years on that undercover unit, everybody that I worked with was used to not hanging out with me because you couldn't. And it was just a weird thing. I really feel like the department dropped the ball. I'm real grateful for my son because he kept me going. But I'll tell you, there was a lot of times I didn't want to go anymore. And I was hurting, no support. I went from, went down to 50% of my salary, and just nobody seemed to give a shit. And I remember 6 years after I retired, I never cleaned my locker out. It was just a mental thing for me. And they ended up clearing it out for me and sending it to my house. And it took me almost 20 years to open that box.
Wow.
6 years after I retired, I ended up in Santa Monica for some reason and stopped by the department and walked into the jail, and some of the old school jailers were still there, and they said, "Hey, Taylor, what'd you bring us today?" Like, fuckers, I've been retired for 6 years, thanks for missing me.
Yeah.
It was just a really weird deal. And I think that, what I could say to any department and new guys, whatever, is don't do that again to anybody.
Yeah.
That was not pleasant. Still not pleasant. I never had a retirement. I want a retirement party.
Right. Yeah.
I never had a goodbye, nothing. It's just, you're gone. You're broken. You're gone. We don't need you anymore. See ya. And then that really adds insult to injuries. I got zero cash settlement. Like, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know you did. I got lifetime medical on my broken parts. Bitching, and I got 50% of my salary tax free for the rest of my life, supposedly. But anytime I need to go to the doctors, my back hurts right now. There's a level of pain you live with and I deal with, and I try not to complain about it. I don't take pills. I try to live as healthy as I can, but I do need my back looked at again, my neck, and I just want to know where it's at. And nothing. I call the city. I've called them hundreds of times. They don't answer the phone. They don't return my calls. And it's like, man, at one point I'm going to just get pissed off and get an attorney. And now I want my money.
Yeah.
You're not doing your part of the deal. I did my career. I got hurt doing my job. I didn't get hurt dicking off. I got hurt doing my job. Now you do your part.
Yeah.
I want a friggin' MRI. I want someone to look at my back again. I don't want to, I'm 60 years old now. I want to continue to be active. I don't let this slow me down. People are always surprised at the things I do. And it's like, hey, I didn't ask to be retired. If I can hop on a mountain bike and go, I'm going to hop on a mountain bike and go. If, I off-road, I boat, and people, how do you do that with a broken back? I just do. I'm not going to roll over and die. If I would have let them do the surgeries they wanted to, I'd been dead already because I wouldn't have been able to move.
Yeah.
Moving is what keeps me going. I always say I'm like a shark. If I stop moving, I'm going to die. I'm very active. To help with, looking back at it, to help with the PTS, I guess, which I did not admit to for years. And the only reason I even addressed it was, I met the love of my life now, Tanya over here. But before then, I ran into my elementary school sweetheart, and she was this tiniest little sweetest thing, and just the most important person to me in the world. And one night in my sleep, I had a moment, a flashback of some sort or whatever, which they happened a lot. And I heard her, and not as much physically, but mentally it was over. And she knew it wasn't her. I choked her out in her sleep, but it wasn't her. It was, and when that happened, I went and tried to get help, and nobody knows how to deal with us. Oops, can you do, military's got all the help. They've got the, the counselors that can help and things. And they tried to send me to a counselor, and I'm not the easiest person to talk to. And finally, once the counselor gets me to open up, the counselor breaks down and is crying. It's like, I'm not crying. Why are you? It's like, I broke the counselor. And that happened with 3 counselors over the year. And it takes a lot to get me to go talk to a counselor.
Yeah.
But they kind of force you. The last one was the best one that I ever had, but she finally had to tap out. She's like, I can't take this anymore. She goes, it's too hard on her. I'm like, what do you think it is for me? Give me some tools to work with here.
Yeah.
And then it's ironic because Tanya, my fiance, her husband, Sergeant Steve Owen, was literally assassinated on duty, shot 4 times in the face, and the last one in the chest, ambushed.
Jeez.
Just horrible. And she really helps. She's my best therapist, because she's seen some shit. She's a 32-year-old. She looks like a 32-year-old. Making points there. No, 32 years on the sheriff's department, bomb squad, and the whole deal. So she's been there. So she understands me. And she's pretty tough. So I hope I don't. If I ever have a flashback at night with her, she's probably going to beat my ass.
Right.
But, they still happen. The other night, I don't even think Tanya knows about this yet. I rammed my head into the wall so hard. For some reason, I was in a fight and I had to get up and run. Well, I was in bed. Did I tell you about this? No. And I remember kind of jumping up and going to go forward, and the headboard was there.
Wow.
It's weird how that stuff sneaks up on you out of the blue. And I know there's other people like me that this stuff happens to. It took a long time for me to admit to it. It took a long time for me to take any medication. There's a couple that I take now that seem to help. I think I'm more terrified not to take them than to now, because I don't want to hurt anybody again. Yeah, she doesn't want me to take them, but there's got to be something out there. The Wounded Blue, Tanya's a big part of that.
Yep.
There's so many organizations out there. I wish they'd all just get together and make one, because they still aren't doing it. I mean, where's our help? I mean, where's our help? I want to help people. I think I could. You gotta walk the walk to be able to do it. Maybe it would help me. Sometimes when I talk about this stuff, it makes for a few bad nights because it kind of stirs it back up. But
sure,
I don't know. You feel like a retard, but you're not.
You'd be just the guy to talk to people, because there's nothing other cops respect more than someone who's, like you said, walked the walk and been through it. That's the most comforting thing to cops, to hear from someone like you, you know? I would definitely get involved if you could. Randy Sutton's been on the show before. He was a fun guest, but yeah, you should get hooked up with those guys or see what you can do, man. I bet that could be a really good new mission for you, you know?
Yeah. That's going to be one mission. My next mission is going to be going after Santa Monica to take up their half of the deal, man. I got hurt helping them. They're going to have to figure it out.
That story, man, it's so gross. And the Wounded Blue guys, the two guys that came on, they had other stories like that. And it's like, you really want to believe. I mean, I've only been on, I've been in law enforcement 18 years, and when you're just doing it and you're not injured or whatever, you just kind of figure, oh, they'll take care of me. Like, I'm all set. Like, look at all these rules they have set up to take care of me. But then you hear stories about, like, oh, I had to fight the medical board for, not in your case, but in other cases, you have a legit injury, and it's like you fight the medical board for 5 years. Meanwhile, you're making like no money. It's like, what kind of thanks is that?
Well, it took 6 months to get any money out of them, like my normal paycheck, because, and the thing that sucked is, like, I didn't have to fight for anything. They considered it a department initiated non-contested medical retirement. It just means I didn't ask for it. They weren't contesting it. It was obvious. I mean, I have pictures of, anytime anybody questions me, I've got a picture of my CAD scan, I guess it is, or some kind of scan. It's gnarly. I mean, my vertebrae they're like in 6 pieces still, but they're so low in my back that there's enough muscle and stuff around there to kind of keeps me together, I guess. But it hurts, but you deal with it. Pain is weakness leaving your body.
Yeah.
That's the way I try to think of it. As long as I can keep moving, I got to keep moving. I don't take pills. Occasionally I take some Motrins here and there, but she's got to force that on me.
Yeah.
I'm walking like an old man. But
yeah.
Nope.
Well,
no,
God
the
bless
department's
you,
got to stop forgetting about their guys. I live in a small city in Arizona now, and 2 cops were recently hurt pretty bad. And I remember talking to one of the guys on their department, like, how are the guys that got hurt? And I go, I don't know. We haven't seen them or heard from them. Like, dude, pick up the phone, man. Go talk to those guys. As soon as I get back home, I'm going to go find them, talk to them, figure this out.
You should. Yeah, man. That is, I don't know if it's a police culture thing. It's an admin thing, but it's also it seems to be a guy thing too. Cause when I played sports growing up, if someone got injured and was taken out for the season, you might get a few initial how you doing, and then it's like, because I broke my leg in football, and you're just gone. Like that, no one's asking how you are. It's like you broke your leg, you're out of the game. Uh-huh. We're going forward, and there's no, unless you show up to the sidelines and stuff, there's no checking on you.
No, yeah, and being away from the department for 6 years, still being on, but I was gone for 6 years on this task force. Nobody contacted me. It was weird. It was like I was erased from the books. I still have my radio. I still got, it's like all they wanted was the weapons back that had to be federally licensed. And then well, this is weird.
Right.
It's really, really odd.
I'm sorry you had to go through that, Todd, man. That is brutal. Incredible experience you had. I mean, just had everything in it, overcoming all that adversity with injury and still going and pushing forward. Like I was saying, like, I don't think there's a lot of guys that wouldn't be that dedicated, that wouldn't do that at all. They would just, well, number one, they would immediately look for a way out, and they would immediately sue the city. Before they wouldn't even let the city do the right thing. They'd be like, all right, suing you for all these things. You put me in this situation. So I hope you can figure it out and get what you deserve out of Santa Monica. They pay out all these scumbags for lawsuits. And pay the North Hollywood shooting, they had to pay their family $5 million because you guys didn't render aid to these guys that shot a bunch of cops quick enough. But then you can't get any money.
That lawsuit held me up from getting my house because I was listed in a lawsuit, and because I had an active lawsuit because we didn't render aid to them. It's like
the gift that keeps on giving.
even after both those guys were taken out, there was still shots being fired.
Yeah, I believe it.
From? I don't know if it was citizens, they were in the area still, freaking out because it was gnarly, but we didn't render aid to them because it wasn't safe to get to them.
Right. And also screw them.
Yeah. That guy.
Like, yeah, I think 95% of people think that. It's like, geez, that was like the cap on the whole thing. And when we saw the film in Police Academy, we're like, and then also LA was sued for all the millions of dollars and they had to go to the dirtbags' families. And we were all like, what? That happens? How's that happen?
It's insane.
Incredible. Todd, thank you for sharing all that, man. Incredible story. Shift gears a little bit. Do you have a positive story or encounter call from your career? Or something you would consider positive?
There was a lot positive, and I think the one that really kind of comes to mind is I remember driving down San Vicente Boulevard in the real ritzy part of Santa Monica one day. It was probably even fairly early in my career. And I remember seeing a dog that just got hit by a car and a little kid out there crying. And I love animals. And I remember going over to see if I could help and block traffic for a bit. But I just remember sitting there with that kid for probably a half hour, just crying with him. His dog just got hit, little kid, and I think that's positive when we can help people like that. I hope that kid remembers it. Yeah. Then there's another funny one. Sorry if you got time.
Yeah.
It was Easter and somebody gave us a big bag of stuffed little bunny rabbits. And my partner and I were goofing off, joking, saying we're doing drive-by bunnyings, throwing them at people and just having a blast with these bunnies.
Yeah.
And I'm down to my last bunny and I'm going to save it for my kid. But then I'm in the number 1 lane and I see this kid over off on the other side of the road by the 3rd Street Promenade. And he lights up when he sees the police car. And he was a little kid, probably like 3 or something, or it's still walking, whatever age you are when you're walking. And he was so excited to see the police car. It's traffic stops. So that whole 2 lanes next to me are clear. So I got to give this kid this bunny. So I reach in and I go to throw it and it hits the A pillar and does this horrible fall right into the middle of the street. Light turns green. Kid starts running out to the road.
Oh,
I'm like,
no.
great. I just killed the kid.
Yeah.
So I jump out of the car and run and swoop it up and hand it to the kid who's already back on the sidewalk now, turn and run back to my car in total embarrassment and leave. Like a couple months later, I'm in roll call and the captain comes down and he's got this plaque and it's a picture of me handing the kid the bunny. I didn't realize, I had no idea what was happening because I was just running around so embarrassed about it. And I handed this kid the bunny and his uncle who was with him wrote this really bitchin' letter. And he must have been a writer of some kind because it's really good.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's good. It's moving. And turns out like apparently I really made an impression on that kid. So I got to track that kid down. He's probably 40 now, but
yeah, that's awesome. You never know. You never know what's going to make a huge impression, right?
That's never know. But that was good. That was a good memory.
Yeah. Sure. I love that. Thank you. Todd, final question. A lot of people love this question. There's a lot of people listen to the show that are like in backgrounds or they're on the fence if they're going to be cops or not. They hear the men and women that come on the show, they hear you and they decide to be a police officer. So for people who have decided they want to be a police officer, what advice would you give to them?
Max out your 401k. Be sure you have know what will happen to you if you are suddenly injured. With Santa Monica, there's no medical insurance after you've retired. They only cover your broken parts. I was declared uninsurable for years because too many broken parts. I couldn't get medical insurance. Just couldn't even get it. With the sheriff's department, which I'm not part of, after so many years, you get your medical.
Yeah.
With Santa Monica, we don't get that. You're on your own.
Wow.
So make sure you know those circumstances definitely max out on your, what is it called? Like Aflac. If I would have had Aflac, that would have really helped out. But because I went 6 months without pay because I had already used all my 4150 time because they declared it a re-injury of the same injury. So I went 6 months until my final paycheck stopped and the actual retirement kicked in. That was really difficult. So make sure you got your ducks in order if something goes to shit. Make sure your family knows what to do. You have everything in order because like knowing from Tanya, she lost her husband on the job, and you got to make sure all your family's going to be dealing with a lot of crap, not just because you're gone, but it's how to survive. So make sure think ahead, have this conversation now, the tough conversations. If I got back to Santa Monica, I would tell the guys, people always told me, slow down, stop beating up your body.
Yeah.
I remember being pulled aside a couple times by some Santa Monica old timers saying, you're going to pay for this.
Yeah.
And that, be a little kinder to your body than I was, and make sure you got all your I's dotted and T's crossed of worst case scenario, and invest. Put a little bit of money away now aside from your retirement, because I was certain that I would be fine. Even after I retired, it's like, I got 50% of 50% of what I made tax free the rest of my life. Well, that equals about to $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
So you make sure you're taken care of and your family's taken care of, because I'm not.
Yeah.
Thank God I got an awesome fiance who did take care of things, and her husband, well, I wish he was still here now. You don't want in this circumstance, but both of them had these tough conversations in advance, and they prepared themselves for the worst case scenario. And unfortunately, the worst case scenario happened.
Yeah.
But at least Steve set Tanya up to where she's going to be okay and the family's going to be okay. So have those tough conversations.
Absolutely. Words of wisdom, brother. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. Give to those deferred compensation plans and the extra retirement. I do that. I started doing that years ago because my dad did it. He was a cop for 32 years and he gave, he always put away to like the little deferred comp thing. And it seems like nothing, you do like $50 a paycheck or something. But after 30 years or 20 years, these are compounding interest accounts. So all of a sudden you're getting your retirement, but you're also getting another, $4,000 a month on top of your retirement because you gave to this deferred comp. And it's really hard to think about when you're young, because it's like, I got so many other expenses, but it really is. Instead. Yep. I started way too late with it, but that is really good advice, brother. That is something that, you're 23 and you're going in, hitting the ground running. And it's like, wait, you have to be financially secure. Whatever. I'm doing my thing. But yeah, that's no wiser words have been spoken about police retirement, man. So Todd, it was
nice. People just need to know, don't be a dick. Yeah. You don't have to be, when you're a cop, you don't see it, but most people don't see cops. They don't have any interaction. So why make every interaction a bad one?
Right.
So take your time to have a good interaction with people and just don't be a dick. Just be nice.
Absolutely. I say that all the time, because when you might pull somebody over, you might be doing traffic, or you might be going to a domestic, whatever call interaction you're having, to you, it's you're working your shift. To that person, they're going to talk about their involvement with the cop for the next 6 cookouts they go to. That's a huge event in their life, having to deal with a policeman in their life. And to you, it's like, you don't even think about it. So like you would throw in that thing to the kid, you're like, this is a nice thing to do, whatever. Huge impact. Like we should keep that in mind.
Yep. Nice.
Absolutely. Todd, it was an absolute honor to have you on, man. Thank you for coming on the show. I'm going to do the outro to the show. Is there anywhere, do you have social media? Or do you have anywhere you want people to, do you want me to put an email for you if people want to reach out, or?
My social media, Todd Taylor Images Instagram, Todd Taylor Images. At Todd Taylor Images.
Okay, I'll put
TAYLOR Images.
I'll put that in the show notes so people can find you.
Yeah, I ended up having a 23-year career as a photographer after I left. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
It's funny. But are we still on?
We're still recording. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. After I retired, it's funny because a lot of the skills from the PD kind of came over to my new thing, which was photography. So I do high speed aerial photography from helicopters.
Whoa.
So I shoot really fast things going fast while in the air. And it's funny because the point shooting really helped, because I'm able to get on track, get on target and stay on target and get some in it. And I really did pretty good with that for close to 23 years, flying around in helicopters, shooting fast boats for a boating magazine. So
that's killer, man. I love that. Yeah. Check him out. Well, I'll put the link to the Instagram in the show notes. That's really cool. I didn't know that about you. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know who I want to be when I grow up.
You're almost there.
Almost there.
All right, brother. Like I said, honor to have you. Thank you for your time. I'm going to do the outro to the show. Can you hang on for just like 2 minutes?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Can you hang on for just like 2 minutes when I do the outro?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll wait for you.
All right, sir. I'll be right back. Thank you. The great Todd Taylor. Wow. Harrowing career and stories. So happy to grab him to come on for the interview. Very, very cool. Thank you for that, Todd. This is a time in the show when I thank the Patreon sponsors. As you guys know, the show does involve some overhead and a bunch of time and all that. And if you listen to the show and you've heard all the free content and you really loved it and you want to show me some love monetarily, you can do that through the link, the Patreon link in the show notes. And I truly, truly appreciate it. Appreciate it. There we go. Who I'm talking about. These are the lieutenants of the Patreon. The great and powerful Andy Biggs. The great Kyle Roberts. Michael Roach from Roach Machines AI Solutions. Check him out. The great Thomas Connell, ladies and gentlemen. The patriarch, Thomas Connell. Now the sergeants, Adam McMahon, Adam Mihal, Brad Thompson, Brett Lee, Dan Carlson from Burley Boards. Check out his woodworking on Instagram. Amazing stuff. Sherry Finch, thank you. Madam Clark Lakoff, yes, sir. The great Dave Ellman, Dennis Carrasquillo, Doug and Kelly Newman, Elliot Sykes, Gabriel Decknott, thank you, sir. The great Gary Steiner, George Carey Otis, thank you. Greg Gadboy, you are the man. Jackson Dalton from Black Box Safety, check them out. Thank you, sir. Jason Labrie, ladies and gentlemen, none other than the great Jason Labrie. Jason Lau, everybody. Thank you, sir. The great Jessica King. Joey Langley, thank you. John Jordan, thank you, sir. John Shoemaker, John and Aaron Kate, love you guys. See you at church. The great Lauren Stimson. The handsome Lane Campbell. Lisa Gano, thank you, madam. The great and powerful Marcus Johansson. Iceman from Motor Cop Chronicles. Check out his podcast. Thank you, sir. The great Nancy Hammond. Paul Maloney. Thank you, sir. Sergeant Raymond Arsenal. Thank you, brother. See you at church. Love you. Richard Tolles. Keep on trucking. My man. Be safe out there. Sasha McNabb, everybody. Sam Conway. Thank you, Sam. Scott Young. Scott, appreciate it. Sean Clifford. Thank you. Seth Wright. Sheriff Ronald Long. Thank you, Sheriff. Tammy Walsh. Holding it down at dispatch. Thank you, Tammy. Tony Fahey. Zachary Pleat. And the handsome and venerable George Tessier. Love you, buddy. See you at church. Guys, the list is long, and I love reading the names. I truly, truly appreciate the support. You keep the boat afloat over here. And I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.